The sales stats for 2022 are out. Are there any surprises?
Happy New Year, everybody. I am Jesse Johnson, best-selling author, realtor, and mortgage broker with eXp since 2006.
And I'm Azim Virani, longtime real estate investor and also Metro Vancouver realtor.
In this episode of the Own Your Life video podcast, we're going to be covering the following hot topics: December's sales statistics, as well as 2022 as a whole, the most recent foreign buyer ban, as well as a quick reminder on the cooling off period, which was renamed to the rescission period, as well as an update on the current BC assessments that were released.
We want to thank you for joining us on this first Own Your Life podcast of 2023. We bring you these weekly podcasts to keep you informed about what's going on in the real estate market. So definitely hit the like and subscribe button so you can stay on top of all the info we bring.
If you're looking to buy or sell, we'd be honored to answer your skill testing questions. Our contact details are in the description below. Whether you're a new home buyer or a seasoned veteran investor, we embrace all questions and look forward to working with you.
Well, let's dive into the stats that have come out on 2022. Overall, the story of 2022 speaks to the Bank of Canada raising interest rates 7 times in order to curb inflation and, tackle economic issues. What these rate increases led to were buyers not being able to afford as much as they could before, and therefore sort of stepping back from buying. Also, a lot of buyers have been watching home prices go down and have been holding off and waiting for the market to hit rock bottom, whenever that is. What this led to in 2022 was sellers either lowering the price of their homes or, moreover, just taking their homes off the market. So major shifts that we saw in 2022.
Metro Vancouver has suffered from decreasing inventory for quite some time. All throughout the pandemic, this has caused property values to increase. Now, the headlines recently have been more so captured by the fact that since spring, prices have been on a relatively sharp decline. Now, keep in mind, each market is different depending on what you're looking to do, and we're going to cover that for you now.
Let's look at the number of homes sold in the Greater Vancouver region. There were 29,000 homes sold in 2022. That's a 34.3% drop from the 44,000 homes that sold in 2021, and a 6.6% drop from the number that sold in 2020. Last year, Greater Vancouver sales were overall 13.4% down from the 10-year average.
When looking at the Metro Vancouver sales, which includes the Fraser Valley region, there were 54,000 sales in 2022. That is a 13.5% decrease versus the 62,000 sales in 2021 and a 0.8% decrease versus 2020. In 2022, Metro Vancouver sales overall were 3.2% below the 10-year average. So it's clear that the number of homes sold in the core of Vancouver were much lower than the Fraser Valley.
Yeah, it's a good point, Jesse. I think that a lot of that would have come from the sheer volume of sales in the Fraser Valley during the spring. I mean, that area was definitely super hot. Well, let's turn the page a bit and look at the benchmark price, or the average price of homes in Metro Vancouver, which currently sits at $1,114,300. So that price is a 3.3% decrease year over year from December of 2021. It's a 1.5% decrease from just this past month of November, and a whopping 9.8% decrease over the past 6 months, which doesn't even include how much more things have dropped from the peak in springtime.
So in the past month for Greater Vancouver, home sales were down 51.8% year over year. I mean, that's an incredible number. And since November, they were down 19.8%. Now, this is largely part to do with the whole holiday season, but at the end of the day, those are pretty big numbers.
Well, let's look more specifically at the benchmark prices for this past December. When we look at detached homes, the average price now sits at $1,823,300, which is down 5.1% from the previous December, or 1.8% down from just this past November, and a very large 11.4% drop over the past 6 months.
When referring to condos, the average price sits around $714,000. Now, this is down 6.9% in the past 6 months. However, in comparison to year over year, 12 months out, it's only down 1.7%.
Now, when looking at attached homes or townhouses, they currently sit at an average price of just over $1 million, and that represents about a 0.2% decrease from the previous December year over year, a 1.5% decrease from November, and a 9.2% decrease over the past 6 months. So between the three categories of detached, condos, and townhouses, it seems like townhouses have fared the best.
The December sales to active listings ratio sits at 17.5%. Now, to be clear, when that number hits 20%, you're in a seller's market. When it drops below 12, you're in a buyer's market. 12 to 20% is considered a balanced market. However, we are a little more strong on the balanced market towards the seller's side.
While this means homes are still selling in a good amount of time, this doesn't boost the confidence of sellers who are receiving offers at much lower prices than what they were used to at the peak of the market in the springtime.
By category, the sales to active listings ratio is as follows. For detached homes, you're looking at 12.3%. Townhomes come in at 19.5%, almost a seller's market, with condos firmly in a seller's market at 21.7%.
Looking at 2023, analysts predict that we may be near the end of the interest rate hikes, with one more small interest rate hike built in the early part of this year. Inflation has proven to be increasingly stubborn to control, and the analyst predictions are that it's going to take a little bit longer now for inflation to come under control in this coming year, longer than they expected. We'll have to see how the market responds in the springtime, and if buyers and sellers just become adjusted to the new norm of these high rates, and they start buying again. Certainly, major factors which will balance out the effect of these high interest rates will be the lack of inventory, and that's going to be worsened by ever-increasing immigration numbers, which outpace new home construction. The other factor will be the overall pent-up demand of buyers who have been kind of waiting for the market to hit rock bottom, and I think there's going to be a big surge of those buyers coming in. So those factors may balance out and start to at least even out prices, not having the prices drop any further, potentially even going up.
The annual BC assessments have just been released. Now, if you click on the link below or go to bcassessment.ca, you can punch in your address and it'll give you what the government has assessed your current property value at. Now, it's very important to keep in mind that this is not necessarily your current home value.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jesse. These are estimations as of July 1st of 2022, and the market has shifted since then.
Another thing to keep in mind that this is really just a rough assessment. The government officials didn't exactly go in your home or inspect your backyard to look for improvements or renovations.
Or on the flip side, the lack of repairs and maintenance that were done in the home. Now, we still do recommend that homeowners look at bcassessment.ca to check out the value that the government is saying your home was worth last summer, especially if you're considering to sell.
That is a very good point. I actually had a listing in the past where the government had assessed the value substantially lower than it was actually worth. Lo and behold, buyer's agents were using that against me, the listing agent, in their attempts at negotiating a lower price. So we actually went so far as to apply to the government to have them re-estimate the value of the property, bringing it up substantially, which helped for our negotiations.
So we are now past January 1st, and the foreign buyer ban has come into full effect.
Azim, do you mind sharing notes on specifically who might be exempt from this?
According to the new law, international students, those holding work permits or a PR card, or any foreign nationals fleeing conflict or are refugees are exempt under the ban.
So let's cover the penalties. There are fines of upwards of $10,000, and a court may order a sale of any residential property that's been purchased by a non-Canadian in violation of the Act, and the non-Canadian cannot recover more than what was paid for the property.
Yeah, that means that if the court orders a sale and the home sells for even less than the foreign buyer originally bought it for, that increases the loss that the foreign buyer will see.
Now let's switch gears to the cooling off period, which has recently been renamed to the buyer rescission period. This is now in effect. Buyers now have a 3-day window in which during this period they can back out of a purchase contract from a signed offer. So what is the cost if they back out?
Well, the seller's entitled to 0.25% of the agreed upon sales price in the contract as a rescission fee or a break fee.
So to be clear, if someone writes an offer, say on $1 million property, they're going to be paying a fine of $2,500. So essentially it's $2,500 per million value of the purchase contract.
It'll be interesting to see how this all plays out in the market and whether it will actually help cool the market any further. What do I think? Highly unlikely.
So what do you think about this? We would love to hear your opinion. Once again, I'm Jesse Johnson. Please don't forget to pick up a copy of my best-selling book on Amazon, Rockstar Real Estate Investing. And I appreciate your time. Thanks for listening. Have an awesome day.
As well, let us know if you're thinking about joining the real estate industry, or if you happen to already be in the industry as a real estate professional, but you're thinking of changing brokerages. We can tell you all about EXP, the brokerage we're with, and the amazing collaborative movement we're on, and the kick-ass program that we've developed to help boost your careers. Once again, I'm Azim Virani, and thank you so much for joining in on today's podcast. Bye-bye.